Alright, so this is going to be the video of me breaking down and talking about every bit and piece, well, most of the bit and pieces that made this vehicle possible. This is my 1993 Mazda Miata that has a turbo k24a2 in it, backed by a CD009 that in the rear end is a Ford Explorer 8.8 IRS. Yeah, this thing just lost its bumper handle. Editor Dave here, and previous Dave forgot to mention to like and subscribe to the video, so if you guys want to do that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so we're going to get started. First things first is the K24. The motor alone I got from JD Orlando. It was about $1,200 shipped to my front door. The next part was getting it into the car. That was the probably most expensive piece altogether, which was the swap kit. I decided to go with the K-Power K24 Ultimate Swap Kit because it comes with all the naturally aspirated stuff to run it non-turbo for a while, which is what I did. I ran it non-turbo with the Miata drivetrain to a 1.8 diff and a 1.8 5-speed, and it was just destroying 5 speeds. I was pushing the limits with about NA 230, 220 horsepower and around the same torque probably. I never actually had it on a dyno, but that's what the butt dyno felt like, and it was as fast as my buddy's 1.8 turbo car on about 12-13 psi. I forgot to mention in the last clip that the swap kit was $6,207 shipped to my front door. Next on the list is the Collins, the K24 to CD009 adapter. That was $2,033 shipped to my front door. It is adapting the K24 to a Nissan 350Z CD009 transmission. That kit came with the flywheel, the clutch and pressure plate, the adapter plate from the motor to the transmission, and that's about it. After that, I needed a differential that was going to handle horsepower. And I was like, okay, there's a couple options. You know, you could do the CTS diff, which is expensive to find those, or you could go with an 8.8. I figured out that the Cobra 8.8 and the Explorers from like 2004 had IRS in them, and they were 31 spline. So all I had to do is order V8R's Stage 2 swap kit to put it in the car, and it came with the 31 spline axles, which are good for around 600 horsepower, and I'd say around the same amount of torque. The V8R swap kit was $2,406, and it came with a front plate to weld on to the stock Miata subframe and a bolt-on application that will bolt on to the stock Miata subframe in the rear for the rear mounts, for like the wing mounts in the stock Miata aspect, and it was basically bolt in other than about 2-foot section of welding. The kit also came with two 31 spline 600 horsepower rated axles that are really beefy and are really nice. I got the Explorer 8.8 differential with a 3.5 rear gear off of some guy on Marketplace. It's an open diff. I got it for 150 bucks. I was gonna weld it anyway, so open diff didn't matter. After I got a custom drive shaft made, I ordered from Shaftmasters. I ordered it 3.5 inches too long, so I had to take it to someone local to shorten it for me. So all in all, that cost about $500. But if I would have ordered it correctly from Shaftmasters in the first place, it would have been around $300, $350 with shipping and all that. But yeah, I ordered it wrong because I didn't account for the input and rear yoke. For the transmission, I went with obviously a CD009 from a 350Z. I got the CD number 2, which is the one that's a little better than the CD01, which has worse synchros in it, if I remember correctly. I got that for $900. It came out of his crashed 350Z. It only had around 80,000 miles on it. It grinds 5th when you downshift from 6th to 5th. But other than that, it's pretty minty. It doesn't make any weird noises, and all the other gears shit fine. Which I'm only really going to be banging gears from 2nd and 3rd, and then those are good. So that's all I really care about. For the shifter to fit into the stock Miata trans tunnel, I had to buy the GK Tech adjustable shifter, which brings it forward, I think something like 4 or 5 inches. It's quite welcome to the party. Anyway, it brings the shifter around 4 or 5 inches forward towards the transmission, which makes it fit perfectly in the trans tunnel for the Miata. I didn't have to trim it or hammer anything. It just goes right up in there. It fits perfectly fine. Moving on to engine management. For engine management, we have a Haltech 1500 Elite and the patch harness. I had to order one for, I think it was an RSX Type S with the K20, but the K20 and the K24 have the same style wiring harnesses, so the ECU works just fine. For fuel, I went with the Works 1000cc ejectors. Those were 500 bucks. I forgot to mention in the last clip, but the Haltech costed around $2,000 after shipping and everything. 2,100, something like that after shipping. After the Works 1000cc injectors, which were around $500 after shipping, I got their fuel pressure regulator also, and it was $150 shipped. It's really nice. It comes with a gauge and lines. Very, very good stuff. To connect it all together, I got the PDY, which is just an eBay brand fuel rail. It was 55 bucks. All fuel rails basically do the same. This one looks pretty high quality, and it works great. To connect everything up, I got a wiring specialty standalone harness for like a standalone application. They didn't make a specific Miata swap harness for the K24. They make one for 240s and a couple other chassis, but as usual, the Miata is like the redheaded stepchild. It isn't enjoyed by most enthusiasts out there, so they don't make one. They make a standalone one, which is easy. A couple wires, and it had everything powered up. The wiring specialties harness was around $900, shipping and everything, and configured in the way I wanted it, and right to my front door, plug and play. And it surely is really nice. Gauges. I have an AEM AFR gauge, that was $220. You know, it's essential for any car with a standalone, or if you're tuning your stock ECU, you want an AFR gauge so you can keep track of your air fuels. eBay water temp gauge. It's a glow shift gauge of 60 bucks, you know. I went with an old style mechanical boost gauge. It was 55 bucks. I want a mechanical one because I don't want to deal with extra wiring, and also I don't want to deal with, you know, a sensor that could go wrong or read wrong. I just have a straight vacuum line to the vacuum block straight to the gauge. It ain't gonna lie. You know, if it's making 10 psi, it's gonna show it. With all this more horsepower, I need more fuel, right? So for a fuel line, I went with -6 AN line because I plan to run E85 eventually. So I went with all -6, which is good up to about, I'd say 500-600 horsepower, which I don't plan to make on this motor. This motor is stock internally, so I'm probably going to be capped around 450, which is where I'm shooting with. And that is what's going to be perfect. -6 is fine for that. And that costs about $150 in line because I had to order like 20 or 30 feet of it. And for the fuel pump, I went with the World Hellcat fuel pump, which I think is a 525 liter per hour or something like that, 525. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, editor. Alright, for the exhaust setup and also the turbo. For the turbo manifold, I went with the TF Works V-band exhaust manifold. It was like $1,400. But it's super nice and it flows extremely well, which is what I want because I don't want to push a lot of boost to the stock motor. So the TF Works is a nice tubular TIG welded manifold, and it is extremely nice. And it's what they had in stock, so I ordered that. For the turbo, it is just an eBay GTX 3076R, which costs around $350. I want to run the actual Garrett version of that turbo, but I'm trying to make it to Black Friday drift, which is in about 3 weeks from now. And with that extra like $2,500 added to the budget, I wouldn't be able to really make it without getting into more debt than I'm already in. So, eBay turbo for now. It runs, it spools, it's good. It'll work for a little bit, but I will plan to upgrade that in the future. For downpipe, I just ordered some 90 degrees and welded up my own. It's mild steel, so it's rusty, looks ugly, but it works, it does the job, it doesn't leak. That cost me about 80 bucks to do the downpipe. The downpipe goes to an ISR Miata catback, which was $530. That was what I ran NA because they made, with the NA header, it gives you a downpipe and it goes underneath the oil pan, goes around and basically connects to where a stock catback would be. I had to extend it about a foot. But I like the way the ISR catback sounded in A. Now it's too quiet. I don't like it. I'm going to change it eventually because the turbo just makes it too quiet. But it will be changed in the future so it can be louder. But right now it's honestly really quiet. When it goes by, you basically only hear the turbo until the car is like past you, and then you hear the exhaust, which is kind of lame. I like my cars loud. I'll show you a little clip right here. Finishing off, we have a knockoff tile MVR wastegate. It's a company called Full Boost. It's basically the same exact wastegate with a different label on it. It's a 44mm wastegate with 150 bucks. I'm not trying to spend $500 on a wastegate when the $150 one works just fine. Alright, cooling. On to cooling. The eBay, I got an eBay Miata aluminum radiator. It's like 110 bucks. It's the same thing as the Mishimoto radiator. Same specs, everything. It just doesn't say Mishimoto on it. Behind that is two small 12-inch brushless fans that push 1640 CFM each. Those are $304. I didn't want to cheap out on the fans because I've experienced cheap fans and overheating cars, and when you deal with electric fans, you want to get the good stuff because it's expensive for a reason, and it's expensive because it works. As I've been driving this car around, it's got like a 165 thermostat in it, and it has not gone above 170, and that was like idling in traffic and it being 100 degrees outside. So these fans work really good, and I recommend them to anyone who has electric fans. The intercooler is just a CX Racing intercooler. It's for like a 300ZX, RX-8. As you can see, it comes out the top here. A lot of problems with doing a K24 turbo car is space. Where the turbo would go straight down and go 90, to go down the sides and have a normal side entering intercooler, it would hit the oil filter relocation and my sway bar. All that stuff would get in the way. So the next best thing would be to come straight back forward here and down to the top. And there you go. Same on the other side. But yeah, that was 270 bucks. After that, I got an eBay oil cooler and oil filter relocation. That cost about 100 bucks. Just a eBay oil cooler. It'll do the job. I ain't trying to ball out on the Mishimoto stuff when this stuff works just as good. Alright, suspension. Suspension is very subjective to what you're using the car for. If you're doing drag racing, autocrossing, tracking it, or if you're drifting it. I'm drifting it, and I'm not a really big fan of all the other types of sports, but those are cool. But I'm going to tell you what my suspension costs. You can subtract this if you decide to go a different route. To start off, we have the Desert Drift Factory modified knuckles. Those are like $350 without shipping. I don't know what the shipping would be because I couldn't figure that out on his website. It was annoying. So $350 is like before shipping. We have the Flying Miata extended ball joints. Those were $160. Those allow you to use stock tire rods to give you a little bit extra camber. So you can use stock tire rods, you don't have to get anything extended. The most expensive suspension part of Xeric Fab, I have a dual caliber drop knuckle with camber adjustment on the knuckle for a Miata, which is really rare. That part took forever to get. I had to bug him and bug him and bug him. If you were to buy it now, it's $1,075 on his website. But when I bought it, was in the middle of him revising it. It was around $870 for me. But if you wanted to buy it now, it's $1,075 before shipping, which is crazy because you're gonna wait 6 to 8 months for that thing, even though it says 30 days. Next is e-brake. I have an ASD e-brake. I got that from Drift HQ. It was $415 with all the lines and everything. I forgot to mention this earlier, but to make the transmission work in this car, I had to get metal frame rails, reinforcement frame rails. I got the Monster Miata ones because they were the cheapest ones that all the other ones did, and they're welding. They were $143. I had to weld them into the stock frame rails of the Miata that run the longitudinal length of the unibody. And I made a solid crossmember mount that goes to the transmission because it was the easiest at the time, and I didn't really want to figure out what bushing length and size and type that would work. So I just solid mounted it, ran bolts up through the metal, and that'll do. Alright, here's a little subjective stuff. This is just extras. If you were to copy my car exactly is with this kind of stuff right here. So if you wanted it to look exactly like me, this is the extras on if you can remove it or take it out. I'm just adding it because it's what it cost me. And this is a build breakdown of my build. But if you want to do it different, it'll be different prices. So here we go. All right, extras. My paint color is teal green metallic from TCP Global. I have a flake in the paint. I know it's really dirty, so you can't really see it, and it's flaking off because this is a drift car. It gets abused. Anyways, teal green metallic from TCP Global with flake and clear coat. It was around $700 for all those supplies and paint guns and everything to get it painted. Next, we have the KBD body kit. That was around $880 before shipping. I'm not sure if he charges shipping, but that's what it was on the website when I just looked at the price. Next, I have new speed front and rear overs. So these over fenders on the car on the front, you actually rivet them to the stock fender and you cut it. And the rears, obviously, you cut the rear of the car and rivet the riv nut, however you choose to install it. Rear overs. All the over fenders and the fiberglass cost around $750 after shipping. If you want the same seat I got, it's the NRG Mexicali seat. It's a medium because I'm a smaller guy. I got like a 32 waist, and it fits me pretty good. My roll cage, I don't know the brand of it. I saw it on Marketplace 6 or 7 years ago for $800. It's a 6-point cage. It's all bolt-in, which some people will cry about and say that's unsafe, but it's past tech at every single track I've ever been to, and I've been to quite a few. If you want the same reps I have, there are 3 SDM .05s. Those cost me $400 years ago. I got them off some guy in Orlando. If you want my wing stands, tough luck. Garage Star doesn't make them anymore. There's a bunch of other companies that make them like it, but they were $800 brand new. If you want the same wing I have, the wing deck, it is a Big Country Lab atmosphere demolisher, 1700 millimeter. It was around $800. I don't know if that's what's shipping or not. I can't remember, but it was around 800 bucks. The NRG steering wheel, just a teal steering wheel, and a quick release hub. Their V1 stuff from years ago. It's around $300. All in all, this whole build with all those parts listed cost me around $32,000 with just the parts. That doesn't really add up to be with all the extra stuff like fluids or lines or clamps or the tools I had to buy to do certain stuff. I'd add like another $1,500 on top of it to really kind of encompass like, oh, I need hardware, oh, I need bolts, oh, I need to order this ARP hardware, oh, I need gaskets, all that stuff. Because you never know when you're building a car what needs what until you're there touching it. You know, you can add it up on a sheet of paper and say it makes this, but you never know what kind of road blocks, bumps in the road you're going to get to along the way. It was definitely been a journey. I've owned this car for around 8 years. This is like my dream version of the car. How I've always envisioned it is this. Some sort of gnarly swap, turbo, low, cool wing, cage, Miata. It might not be everyone's dream. It might not be everyone's passion to have a Miata, but this is mine. And I'm glad I get to show everyone this because I love this car, and I'm glad I could finally make it to what I want it to be. The next video that you guys are going to see is it on the dyno. And hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, that around 12 PSI boost, it makes around 450 to the wheels. But we will see. I appreciate everyone watching, and thank you. I will see you guys in the next one.